On Moving and Moving On, a collection of art and poetry created by Sam Thompson. Dedicated to the friends who stuck by my side amidst all this moving, and to the people reading this and these poems, thank you. Forward. Over the past year since I released my last poetry collection, -50, there's been a lot of change in my life. Between moving during quarantine, moving for the first and second times of my life, and starting to go out into grad school, there's been a lot of moving about in my life, both inside and out. I've discovered more about myself as a person and my innate tendency to resist change, having to overcome that to work on learning to embrace it instead, and witness myself going through the emotional ups and downs that have come with the experience of leaving Alaska, my home of 26 years, and then leaving Indiana, my home of 1 year, to come instead to settle now in Pennsylvania, which will be my home possibly for many years more. It's been a wild roller coaster of sorts, learning to move and learning to move on from things I've held on to from my past experiences in these places. And it's inspired me to pick up the pen again and revisit poetry in the midst of everything, trying to capture in its ink an iota of all the weird mix of emotions that have been boiling and swirling inside me all this time, a mix of both struggles and successes. This has been the most moving of my life, and I've done a lot of moving forward, moving ahead, and moving on in the process. And I think a lot of what's come out of it so far has possibly been some of the best experiences, writing, and art of my life. So with that said, I hope you enjoy reading through this new collection titled On Moving and Moving On. Sincerely, Sam Thompson. Alaska. I don't know how much I'll miss you from many miles away. Never know how I'll feel in the future looking back from wherever I go on ahead, reflecting on the freckles on your face, made of memories made here with people who too ended up in your gravity, pulled from all over to your unique Earth, like a weird little planet so separate from other states, while I'm still in a state of shock that I'm even making my escape at all. And these shipments, like spaceships, flight from you, from all I've ever known, where I've grown. It'll be strange to adapt to anywhere else I feel. I fear maybe I won't ever fully blend into elsewhere's fabric, because people will see how Alaska's woven into me so deeply, even when I may not see it myself. I see so much of it in photo albums, moments like moving pictures in my mind of near forgotten times spent at the edge of China, shooting cans and old McDonald's toys in my time with Dad, a few campfires and embers reflecting in eyes here, and there were other sparks, boys and love learned and lost and found, finding myself in forests and fields, walking and talking with friends across campus, sitting atop high spots and looking out at faraway mountains that soon will be even further away, experiencing the exaggerations we call seasons. Spring skipping ahead in 2 seconds time straight to summer, wearing his mask made of mosquitoes to greet us before his friend Fall follows suit, before the 1,000 years reign of winter comes in, and we come in to seek shelter from the below freezing. And here I found so much warmth and cold, and here I found fragments I made into home. And so I say goodbye, trying to wrap words into poem because it's all I can do to try and capture these moments in this microcosm. But it's always been a macro kind of state, size too large to fit so neatly into too few lines, and I'd be lying if I said I'm not worried about moving and moving on and away from this place. I've learned a lot from living here, and I'll keep carrying these Alaskan lessons with me wherever I go. Anti-gravity. My toes touch and tread the earth, leaving their final imprint on this space that I've claimed as my own for a lifetime, where my well-worn body long rested and where my heartbeat played off the walls, its tune softened with time and familiarity. But there's a discord now intruding into the sound, the skin, the odds and ends of my being, of my entirety, as I face sudden upheaval from this place, as magnetism shifts from this North Pole. So abruptly I find myself lifting off and looking back upon the little toe prints, the things left behind in this experience of anti-gravity, reflecting and looking down upon these multitude of years recorded in the sand, facing forward now to see what future, what planet I might find on its surface, new sands that my feet will land on, that will work their way back into balance as I make a new land into a new home. Boxes. In moving, I found my life fit into 27 boxes, containing 27 years of progress and regress and realizations, of passions pursued and lost along the way that I've found again in going through storage. All I've stored inside of this house and home, stored inside of this heart and soul. And I'll take these 27s forward with me and see how that number grows, as I grow too with new experiences in a new place filled with new faces and new boxes to fill with the future awaiting ahead. Breath. New life fills into your lungs once more, finally getting a grasp above water after such a long time that felt like drowning, always drowning. You've held your breath for so long you could feel each ounce of oxygen leaving you, saying goodbye, and you felt like saying goodbye too. But you find yourself still afloat, a surprise to yourself, and even amidst the rocky waves the past few months brought for you to bear, you're still here. You're still here. Let that sink in as you stay atop the water now, triumphant, so strong. The sun shines anew reflected in your head, light where dark once threatened to consume you all like the ocean below. Take your time to process this. Take another breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Find your smile once more. There's land still yet ahead of you. You see the island in the distance, but know that you've survived so much, and you will make it safely to shore. Just take another breath and continue going forth. Burial and Burial, Part 1. I feel it rising, the overwhelming sensation of boiling heat to water, emotion to anger, acid to my stomach. When the recurring memory makes its way to my mind as I remember suddenly why my neck has been hurting. My spine has been so bent out of shape by the way I practice contortion in my crying myself to sleep. And my head hits the pillow so uncomfortably these days. These nights turn toxic by new weights pressed upon me anew by the sight of the sun going down. Solar rejection turning to lunar loneliness as I turn over and let the floodgates of my eyes open once more. It's that cycle called so simply depression. A word with so many more meanings than the manual tells us. Implications and its neat diagnostic criteria that can't encompass the way that my tears fall and keep falling the way they do, the way that my mind works and unworks the way it does, because the world doesn't seem to work out for us at all. And so I consider every night a burial, as I entomb myself in these sheets and pillows and seal it shut with thoughts of pills and cliffs and forests nearby that I could escape to if I can't find escape and sleep that night. But every time the ritual doesn't work out, the burial aborted, because sleep finds me when I'm exhausted, tired out, tired of trying to fight my own mind, my own thoughts. And in the evening, I sleep once more. Burial, Unburial, Part 2. And in the morning, I awake once more. The unburial begins in me turning and tossing, this time to get up from bed to see the sun smiling back at me once more, saying its sweet nothings, its sweet everythings. Sorry for leaving you last night. I'm so glad to see you today. I love you. Always remember that. Just hold on to me in the many mornings that I wish to see you in. The many mornings that you deserve to see. And Unburial continues as I give it my best smile back. I give it my best smile. I give it my best. And the best is all I have to give. And I promise I'm doing the best I can. And I'll keep fighting this sensation, this anger and self-destruction for as many nights and mornings of burial and unburial as it takes for me to see the truth that I've always deserved to live. Canvas. You stretched me thin those days, like canvas held tight, held taut, and held against my will and pressed flat and fresh to the wooden form. And I stared up at you with my big, blank eyes, expressionism in the way I begged to please be painted with warm colors, maybe vibrant yellows like that of an emoticon to portray the way I wish to be filled with positive emotion. But I saw your hand turn away from that palette and pass over it instead for darker means and mediums, reaching past India ink instead for your home-brewed Indiana ink. Your hometown, and not mine. And he splashed it in my face, slapdash, in the application, moving without any finesse like trademark Pollock without care, as you filled in my look with miserable black, bereft of hope to be restored to any of the glory held in other colors. The entire wheel forsaken instead for your choice, always your choice to paint over me, drown me with watercolor, to be hung up in that unknown, unwanted gallery on the wall of a home that I didn't choose, and framed as someone who should be grateful that I was even painted and created at all. Change. Getting too carried away on the winds of change. Letting my hand let go of the wheel and handing over my keys to my car, my house, my home. Boxing up everything I owned and watching it in the back of a vehicle backing up and away down the driveway. Wondering if I'll ever see that stuff of this old life again. Or if I'll have to replace it all with what new things I find far away in some unknown land stores and malls that I've never seen as long as I've lived within the outline and confines of this Alaska. And I knew moving on before and going from a relationship an experience of the temporary sense of togetherness, only to find it replaced so swiftly with the uncomfortable need to comfort myself by myself again after the relationship's end. And now I have to start making a checklist of all the knickknacks and little things I'll have to replace that didn't quite make the cut into my carry-on luggage that I can't carry onward with me to Indiana. Things as small as soaps and trinkets and razors because blades can't board a plane, and things even larger like friends and a sense of home. Those things you can't quite replace but have to find and redefine from abstract as you search along the concrete of new sidewalks in search of new faces to words you thought you learned long ago. But you're learning through change that there's always more than you thought you knew, and it's time to grow and give a chance to hopefully find that with change, you will change for the better. Church. There's a holy building across the street, and I see the people stray in and out, time and time again at holy times. And every 6 hours, the building bells chime, reminder in its sound to take a deep breath, inspire, to seek inspiration, seek communication and communion with the world, sharing in this moment a sense of settlement, belonging. I just moved in across the street from the church and unpacked the final box as the bells toll, telling me, "You've done it. You're here." A welcoming sound resounding all the way to my core, coming from just across the street, greeting me, coming from another world. Maybe, in this one, I'll finally find myself. Color theory. You said you were an artist. Labels spoken across dinner during a date marred by me asking if you'd want to draw me. But you said you only drew real women for illustrations, illustrating a point to me that I only learned later on that you didn't see any value in me, as you said you only work in black and white, and my theory is I was all too colorful for you. Too much for you to capture in a quick sketch, a one-night session of poses and poetry too hard for your visions of simple silhouettes to handle. And so, you can keep your art, and I'll keep moving on until I find someone who can see that I am a masterpiece. Communion. Haven't had the energy lately to put food at the table, so you came along and offered me your crumbs. I look at you, at us, at what little we both have, what we both lack, while the elite sit with such cornucopia, such plenty in their wallet, able to dine without worry. And I worry in taking your offerings that I'll leave you in starvation too. But you smile, wearied and earnest, telling me, "It's okay, please, go on ahead." And so I take your food, your time, your support, and I give you back what I can too, and laughter and fun and distractions aplenty, the only plenty I have access to. And you say it's enough. Thank you. And I eternally am so thankful for you too, and I appreciate what we have, this sharing, this communion between friends fighting together till the end. And I'm so happy our connection began in the first place. And I hope that things like laughter, this little poem, words I can give to you, are a good currency too. And I look forward to exchanging more and more words as the world continues to spin on, us on this track of mutual orbit. And I couldn't be happier than to be on this path alongside you. Countdown from 10. Another X marks its way into existence as a slash through the calendar's box, as I see not too far ahead the annual celebration of my origin scribbled in. Reminder of reflection, progress, and regrets too, all captured in that little square. And I stand here starting the countdown. 10 days, then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then soon it'll turn into 0 as I turn 27. And this year I wonder if I will extinguish the candle flames atop the cake with tears, or if I'll still have the breath strong enough to sing the tune in a lonely chorus of one, baritone voice worn down over quarantine. To wish myself a hopefully happy birthday in this time where every day I feel so unhappy. Happy birthday, Sam. Stay strong. Daybreak, dusk break. My life can be divided between day and night, a schedule, a growing count of daybreaks and dusk breaking my heart as my mind floods with catastrophe, self-created, self-inflicted, as the time turns towards the darker hours. But my life isn't all tragedy, all hours of night. As the other half of light grows brighter too, every day I realize I've made it to see the sun. Alive. Still alive. That realization generating more strength in me, strengthening those underutilized muscles around the mouth, making it a little easier to upturn a smile, and knowing that even in the downturns of life, the natural fall to every rise, that I have the power to be my own phoenix and rise with the morning sun, and I'll keep on forever rising. Drive-through. Car carving through time and space, between where I was and where I am. Watching clouds conjoin and pull apart in serenity in the sky above, passing each other with a gentle handshake. I can't wait to greet new people here, to hold hands again with opportunity, to see smiles in the faces of those I'll soon call friends and find in them family. I breathe in the air of the country outside as tires roll through the land, as I make land there at home. A new home in a new house. I take another breath, inhale the moment and exhale the past, and continue my path driving onwards, driving through, and living. Ear training. I trained my ears in school for many years to tell the difference of notes from A to G without ever thinking of the alarm tone ringing discordantly in the background sound of your words, the click of your tongue disguising it behind a rhythm called charisma, behind the winding melody of your mask, the one you'd wear when you spoke to me, different from the one you'd adorn around others you adored, others you didn't tell me about. And in class they quizzed me, and I got a subpar score. Felt like I was failing to hear the harmonies, not knowing it was because the notes were too close, that I was too close to hearing that the world would soon fall apart. Too caught up in mistaking the percussion line for wedding bells, not knowing the bell tolled, and wanted to tell me the truth. But I wouldn't allow myself to listen until, as always, it was too late. When the semesters ended, and I graduated and moved on from music, you decided to move on from me. I can hear things a little clearer now that I know not to trust those singing the same tunes as you. Halcyon. Flipping through the old pages, untouched in a while, refound during unpacking. And there's a lot to unpack within the photos, pictures of moments most missed. The halcyon days that I used to see as gray, but now yearn to return to so dearly. I miss you. So dearly. My dad in these images, smiling, and me with short hair, acting like a youthful fool, feeling like a being divorced from my being today. So different from now to then, and now and again I reopen the photo album to remember, reminisce, and remind myself to carry these memories and moments forever on as I forge ahead to make many more photos and fill another album and fill another page to try and fill you with pride that I'm doing well. Handle with care. Be careful in how you caress me. Be cautious with that contact, covalence in the bond between skin and skin. Your ions trading touch with mine, holding together in strength that maybe you'll only let last for a moment, for a night, or for a date or two before you decide to ditch. Become a ghost illuminated in that split-second afterglow, and splitting my heart into halves with half-thought violence in the act of dividing me through to the atoms. The core structure that holds me together with such fragility is forged from so much carelessness from men before, ancestors that I hope you'll be different from. And I hope this time it'll be different from all the trying times before. So please try to be careful with me, because I care for you, and I hope you'll return it too, in your touch, as you handle me with care. Hemispheres. Half and half heart, torn between extremes, each side with labels that I look away from, looking instead inward to find myself, find out. Come out with it in hand like a white dove, uncolored by these words. Male. Female. I open my palm and release my spirit free into the air. Watch as the binary billows away like a cloud, puff of smoke. Up and gone. And on the ground, I stand strong. I am myself. How to move onwards. I've been struggling to get a grasp lately, to gather any sort of strength to hold on, to wrap a palm around the thoughts and feelings of ache and pain, to start to process any of all of this that's going on. I knew moving would mean change, would mean a whirlwind picking up my house and throwing it elsewhere like what happened to Dorothy, but this isn't a movie. This is real, but feels still so unreal. And I know it's unrealistic to expect me to adapt so quickly to being uprooted. You don't expect a tree to grow anew overnight, but I feel so rushed, so told that I should get used to it, that I should make myself at home. But how do you even build a home when it's more than wood and walls and objects stored within, when I'm so unfamiliar with everything around to the point where I can't even wrap my mind around where to even start, what to even do? I unpack and I place things in a room and I sleep in a bed and I force myself to find routine in the madness, but I find that there's sadness still that followed me here. Complicated emotions I hope to leave behind on the flight, but still yet There's sadness, anger, regret. Worse, that still burning, all-consuming fire called hatred that's been charring me up inside. As I find myself hating that I was so forced to come here against will and judgment. I have to make it work somehow. But that's the question, isn't it? Always just how? Indie. I learned about ultra-independence today and saw in the term the particularities of the patterns I've adopted and carved into the core of myself, slowly whittled in over these past few years. Or has it been over a decade now? Seeing in me the times I've decided I'll do it all myself. Seeing in the subtext that it means I'm scared of trust. Scared that other hands won't hold me up, but instead hold me face down in water, fire, letting me scar more and more. The thoughts scaring me more and more, and so I learned to write, design, draw, make theater, make film, make it all myself because I've let the world tell me, press into me that I'm the only one I can trust. But even then, I don't feel like I really trust myself all that much. And I wonder if I can work against this habit, work against the sad illusion of being independent, that labeled indie artist. Solitary in my poetry, self-imposition of loneliness for the pretense of better art, self-controlled art. And learn to let go, and better yet, love again, trust again, collaborate, and allow myself to find the very hands that can help me mold myself into a better person and into the better artist that I want, that I need, that I know I can be. Looking back, looking ahead, part 1. Been looking back through old records, flipping pages through cataloged memories and letting new floods burst through at the remembrance of instances, good and bad. Like when I used to dance and physically feel the weight in my limbs slowly lift, and the barricades others built in my mind, made of driftwood of drifting comments about my creativity, my voice, my body, barriers breaking it all down through exploring choreography for the first time. And then, suddenly, I quit dance. Like when I used to love this boy who talked to me between our college classes or courses, and I could feel love start to course through my veins. Like a new kind of fire starting from embers I thought I burnt out long ago. And he'd tell me about his mom, and he cried and let me so happily hold him in my arms, only to then float away from me when I mentioned that there was a chance we had anything real, only to find it to be only a fantasy. And then, suddenly, I quit love. Looking back, looking ahead, part 2. And I quit so many things, time and time again when times got tough, because they always got tough. And I always was too weak, less like a boy and more like a balloon popping at the slightest pinprick. The smallest slight setting me off the diving board into the deep end. I've never learned how to swim, only how to quit. So I quit dance, love, family, friends, quit believing in chances, quit the concepts of hope and home, and quit taking photos, but I'm seeing them all again through all these photo albums, physical and on my phone, and finding against all odds, all aggressions, all the things that sought to snuff me out, that there's still some tightness in my chest, that something's pulling me forward, pulling me in my hand back on the button to snap another photo, record another video, maybe another dance, record another I love you. Maybe there's still a chance found in looking back to look ahead, forge ahead, and try anew at all the things I thought I'd left behind. Anything that I quit, I can always start again. Any ending can be a new beginning. Marketplace. I was born, flesh, blood, and breath, an instantly made product. Commodity. Sent to school for years and years to learn how best to sell myself. When graduated, to be put on the pedestal of the marketplace called many things. All starting with A, like alpha, adulthood, America. They take youth and age it with questions. How will you make money? With your poor features to dare to be ugly in this economy? With your poor decisions to major in mere arts and crafts? With your poor attitude to decide to wear sadness on your skin? With your poorness dripping from every pore? I'm tired of selling myself, building up skills for a quick buck. All this time wasted just to be cut to the quick so quickly. I've grown so tired. I feel like this world exhausted me on entry, and I'm ready at 27 to take my listing down to free myself from this marketplace. I don't want my life to be a competition. I'd rather it be a collaboration, a work of art made by many helpful hands, all working together to create something wonderful, something that isn't just some product, something that is just me. Medusa. I haven't written in a while. Every passing moment I think about passing thoughts to paper, there's added pressure, not behind the pen, but repulsing it from paper. This reverse magnetism strengthening with time, and I feel frozen this winter, even when I was used to living in the cold. But now, has my resistance reduced? Wrecked with time, or am I petrified from the mere image of myself in a mirror, being increasingly unable to see myself as a writer, a creator, any label other than imposter? I breathe in, out, and put away the paper, pick up the phone, not to call for help, but in realizing that maybe if the pen is too much, maybe I'll just try texting out a poem, send it to myself, and see if in that familiarity, disguising productivity under the illusion of the phone screen, if I could find a way to break the spell of my Medusa's curse placed upon myself. And here I am. Lines later, text sent. No longer stone, no longer cold. Just a writer once more. Mind on absence. Mind stuck on absence. What does it mean to lose it all, but sit in the aftermath? Bathe where silence fills the tub. Water neither cold nor warm, temperature turned and tuned to 0. Just sitting and listening to these voiceless songs with just the instrument of my off-kilter heartbeat ticking along to track the minutes without you. Seconds I still have to find a way to fill, find a way to move on, to not lose myself so absent-minded. Momentum. I thought I'd be afraid of roller coasters the first time I tried one in another state. Back when I was in another state myself, younger then and inexperienced with momentum, with travel, with moving. A man's hand came across and clicked me steady into the seat before takeoff. And I looked ahead then with fear, just as I still feel today looking ahead at the moment that awaits me tomorrow. A new day moving to a new state. New things, always frightening and filled with electricity. I think too much trying to figure out the future. I need to not think. Just close my eyes and embrace the momentum. The roller coaster starts, and the fear lifts, and I smile. Nearsighted. Years ago I watched as my vision failed, watching words blur suddenly away as the writing on the wall became unclear. I sat at the back of the class at first, and week by week I had to move closer to make out the teacher's handwriting, until eventually at the forefront, as close as I could get, I raised my hand and said, I can't read it. I can't see it. I couldn't see. From flawless to flawed in just a year's span, 20/20 vision getting worse and worse. In 2020, I could see the writing on the wall again. Little etch marks in it I've made in the years I've held on since then, since getting glasses, since eventually having to get surgery. But now I can see clearly through the windows, the sight from them no longer obscured by blinds. I reflect from my new sight and still remember that very real fear of watching my life fade away right before my eyes. But I'm still here, still seeing that I'm still alive. On the ocean. I felt broken upon the rocks the first time I was sent out to sea. They handed me paper. They taught me navigation and concept. They told me to put it into practice. We won't help you anymore. You have to help yourself, they told me. You're ready to help yourself, I told myself. Grasping at their paper at the podium, stepping out the doors post-ceremony, seeing upon the grass so many other graduates, so many others I had to see now as competition, to see no longer as compatriots. I hoped I wouldn't run into them on the waves. I hoped I wouldn't run aground. But paper doesn't make for strong sails. But concepts can't make up for practice. But practice doesn't guarantee success. So I sit here with these degrees. So I sit here as a graduate and wonder still, will I finally find a soft landing? Or will the ocean chew me up and spit me out, a skeleton of the student I once was? The thought of all this makes me seasick. I just want to make land in a new land, free from these unwanted waters where maybe one day I can make my own island. Maybe you'll be welcome to join me there, where we won't be competitors anymore. We'll just be friends. Paradise. Am I finally where I'm meant to be? The question floats striding between the ice cubes in my glass of soda. sitting in an Italian restaurant that sits in walking distance across the street. And I was so used to driving, always driving 30, 35 miles. So many minutes spent behind the wheel to get to anywhere in Alaska. Anywhere with good food and drinkable water. And now I could just walk to get pesto in this little personal paradise. And maybe this time, after such time, things will finally be kind of nice. Pen and pray. I write because I was once told not to, said from loud voices from many mouths who I had misplaced trust in because they had a pen and a paper, diplomas and teaching certificates, and hatred for those who could upstage them in a verse. So I designed verses to do all the things they said I couldn't do. And where once they held the corners of my mouth down in their attempts to get me to hide my smile, destroy my joy for writing, and now bare my teeth freely like fangs found in the written word, with bark and bite that they were afraid to let loose into the wild, in case the wolves found them as prey. Tables turned when they preyed on me as a student just trying their best to hold a pencil with pride and to outline a voice with its lead. And now I've learned that I can lead the next writers and help them see that there's a wondrous thing in rebellion, writing like a riot, fighting for your right to speak, to tell your story, and to allow yourself to write what you want. It's your words, and they're worth the attention of the world's eyes, so please find within you to wield a pen and write. Period. There's a period after every product, every sentence that ends in creativity, the flash in the pan now sizzling out as you see what you've cooked and now sit down to eat, not thinking until it's too late about the aftertaste. What do I make next? What do I make next? What's the point of making when you can't even reflect or take the time to swallow down the last meal before preparing another one? I know I need to slow down, stop moving on before I'm ready to move on to another piece. But why wait when I'm sure the next one will taste so sweet? Poem titles. I cried for hours as my head kept spinning, so I turned the sad silk into thread as best I could by thinking up poem titles, one by one, thinking if I force myself to focus on just one word, maybe I could tune out the rest of the darker words clouding up and congregating, populating as this horrid and persistent poison in my brain. So I tried to focus. What would be the title tonight? But all I could come up with was poem titles, which I thought of so sadly as weak words, poor choices, but it was the best I could do tonight. I know I'm doing my best. I just have to take the world on one night, one word, one poem title at a time. Precious stones. All as precious stones put under pressure, rolled by others in their tumblers to see if the less precious, sharp edges still remaining could be ground down to something desirable, the cost to the rock so irreparable. But it's the price paid for beauty, always the ugly concept of beauty, and by the end of the process, us stone-made crystals look upon our own reflections, reflecting on seeing ourselves made unrecognizable, feeling that our increased worth to others makes us feel like we're inherently worthless, our appearance made anew for others' sake. when originally all we wanted was just to be left alone and seen as a precious stone all along. We're worthy as we are. Rose red. Biting into the color crimson, rose red in the surface of this apple, fresh fruit, found in a new diet, trying as I can to shed the weight of a few years spent lost and wondering when I will be able to find myself staring back in the mirror with a smile, replacing the frown that's burrowed its way into every muscle of my face. So I'm replacing old foods for new, replacing myself in a new place for a few more years of study, reading into books and the looks I give myself in that mirror to watch and learn about recovery, as over time here I'll work on finally being happy. I think I can be happy here. I really do. Salt. Spirit sat trapped in skin for far too long, growing sympathetic for the way the bones too underneath ached and atrophied from paralysis in one place. So the two began to talk, conversation through synapses and ligaments connecting through connective tissue, coming to promise each other that one day, together, they would find somewhere new to stretch, reach out to grasp each other, invisible hands holding on to another, forming a new future held between their fingertips. And so they fled. So they flew, free from the salt circles that once bound their spirits, the trails formed from tears, and from the chair the bones found and rested for so much time, wasted time, reclaimed in their plane trip to anywhere. Maybe they could save up and convince others that it was possible too, to find freedom in leaving as they did. Maybe they could get the organs to catch up. Lungs could come and breathe new air. Feet and fingers to feel new grass. Senses like taste and sight to take it all in too. And one by one, they could bring everyone. They thought together, delighted in a shared fantasy they could make reality, now out of being bound to their previous place, location, and state, stuck in all that salt. Sandcastle. I've been trying to keep myself together, like trying to hold a sandcastle in my hands, futility in the way waves lap at its walls, dissolving all the while. My grip isn't enough. Nothing I do is ever enough. And day by day, little particles, more sand, more of my soul seems to slip through and through. I've been trying to keep myself together. But it's hard to stay together when so alone. Hard to find unity in isolation. Hard to find care when I can't even find it in a mirror. Anywhere with it. No articles on self-care ever stick strongly, like adhesive failing at its role, just like me failing at my role to just stay strong a moment longer. I've been trying to keep myself together, and it's getting hard to keep trying, as my effort has converted to exhaustion, as my breath has exchanged for asthma, as my sandcastle comes crashing down, as I feel my soul day by day slipping away, as I feel failure creep through the cracks, as I feel like I can't keep myself together any longer. Please, just a moment longer. Sometimes the sand slips through my fingers, but I keep rebuilding, day after day, night after night spent internally questioning my own strength. But I've stayed strong through it all. People see those with depression sometimes as weak, but there's such strength in the act of just keeping yourself together. I may be a sandcastle, but I'm still here, and I'm so much stronger than I think. Signal strength. I understand those scientists, the ones in the movies sending signals into space, hoping some alien race would pick up on the other end of the call. An act of interest, of taking interest in the words and life and lifestyle of a stranger, enough to start a conversation. Is anyone out there? Is anyone listening? Calling out into the void, sending out signals through art and poems, through messages saying, I'm free to hang out anytime. I understand if you're busy though. I understand those scientists, the ones in the movies, as I'm sending out signals too. I just hope someone picks up someday. Some sign of life's gotta be out there, somewhere. Statistics. I think of tears in terms of calculation lately, trying to add up the numbers from memory of how many grams of salt have graced my face. The total that rings out is something I can only estimate as quite grand, with enough zeros in the digits that it could be written on one of those big checks, like I won a competition or a prize, and a diagnosis of depression was my reward. And I get paid out in dividends of little droplets on a nightly basis. And I collect my winnings as I wring them out of pillows in the wash. And I really wish when I had the choice of doors that I could have opened another one and won a car or something useful like a hug or a hand to hold on to when I'm feeling like crying again, or someone to block out the solar panels so the numbers won't display on the calculator that's always running on repeat in my mind, or someone, just anyone, who could talk to me and tell me that I'm not just going to be another statistic. I can't count any higher anymore because I'm growing world weary with each new night, and I'm growing tired of trying to count on these fingers. I just need something a little happier to count. So please, help me see a new number set and set my sights on counting up some smiles, or how many times we laughed that day together, or how many times I've heard that I deserve love, that I deserve to be alive, just as anyone should. I don't want to play these number games anymore. Can't we all just play something fun together instead? T-minus 30. 2 alarms on my phone already rang, the sounds lost in the last-minute scramble of packing bags and trying to find patience within myself to allow any seconds to breathe. Breath begets process, the oxygenation to my brain necessary to think this through. Do I want to move? Do I still want to move? There's only 30 minutes left until leaving, and usually in video games they prompt you before the moment of no return. And I know once I step on that plane, that single footstep becomes a decision that will be hard to retract. harder to tell people if I'll come back than to take that step back. I just hope my feet are moving in the right direction and moving away from here. And I hope that this flight writes more of a new, bright beginning, more so than any sort of bad ending to my time here. I find myself spending this last half hour in fear. And I hope that once I land, I can breathe in excitement into this body and work into this brain that I can do this. I can do this, and the flight out of here awaits. These holy days. Happy holidays. I forget that holidays are coming because I try to forget about them, not wanting to remember the themes associated with them of family and love, and they make me just feel loss. And this sensation of holiday hurt, this questioning of what's so holy, being reminded of the trauma of a Christmas I can't share with my dad because he's gone, of a Thanksgiving I can't share with my dad because he's gone, of a Father's Day I can't share with my dad because he's gone. All these little automatic alerts on my phone, my Facebook, all over social media, commercials, the tragic inescapability of it all. And I just want to go to sleep and wake up when a holier day is here. One where I won't feel so hurt by every holiday happening like today. Waves. Waves wash ashore, leaving debris cluttering up together on the sands, like blood cells choking in an aorta. Every thought another season, sending signals through skin to core, telling me to care more and more. I try to tell myself I care less. I couldn't care less that you left me adrift at sea, a body made driftwood, but I stayed afloat to prove something. To who? To me? To you? The thoughts leave me gross, like peeling out after too long pulled in chlorine trying to clean my act up. I hit the showers and hit the wall, little plates shifting like tectonics. I worry the magnitude is increasing, but I've never been a geologist, so I got used to the sea instead of land, after spending childhood in a waterbed that you brought me back to once again, seasick when supposed to be sleeping, security blankets moving, making insecurity seep into every dream, seeking somnambulism, but I only found you. I found myself after a few days on waves floating along forward towards land, but the beach doesn't feel so safe when you could feel every shell crack underfoot, see jellied carcasses along the shoreline, thinking it could have been me, but I wish it could have been you, finding bouqueted roses have thorns too, finding that I never really needed you. But thank you for the swimming lessons, I suppose. Whispers. It whispers a bitter nothing into the summer, air compressed and words compiled, then spat out softly against the depths of the inner ear and mind and heart and soul. All corners filled with words of no self-worth. Disdain for the body made prison that you're housed in. The sound is coming from within. The call is coming from inside the house. I disconnect, disassociate it from the real me. It's not me. It's just this thing that I have to get grips on. But the whispers grow into groans, louder and louder until I can hear it in every hall, every corner filled with voiceless voice. I open my own mouth to drown out the sound and let my words turn into swords to cut and carve through the unwanted noise of depression. Lips peeling apart to part the stormy seas between my heart and head, and I whisper to myself, I will be okay. I will make it all okay. I will learn to love myself. It just takes time. I will make time for you. And all the other whispers get a little quieter. Windows. Been looking out windows all my life, be it literal or those exaggerations, those sayings about our eyes. But through these months, confined to a room, looking out through the same sight to see the same sights from my bedroom, dawn to dusk, dusk to dawn, cycling endlessly as the sun and moon put on their performance in the sky to keep me at least remotely entertained. So remote in their distant dance for me. And I wished I could safely trespass beyond this glass barrier keeping me safe, keeping me away from letting the thought creep in like water accumulating in condensation at the window's edge, thinking that danger is only outside, that the world can't hurt me as long as I stay quarantined. This thought, an illusion that I can't dismiss as easily as some do politics, because this window can't keep the pollution out forever. Strong enough winds will break fragile glass, and I stare out these windows every day just waiting for when I can muster up the strength to go outside once more, breathe in stale air now made fresh with time, stand out there with fists held high and fight, with mask on my face but my eyes, those windows to my soul, my angry, angry soul, still on display. And I hope you can look at me eye to eye and see that this world needs change. "28 years have come and gone, but I'm still here, standing strong, despite the wild weather's attempts to wear me down in the interim between birth and now. Events along the way like hands that have held and shaped me, some in a way of warping, some hands most calloused and rough, but from that I've grown, yet still reminding myself to not be so tough, still to keep a core of kindness somewhere within. But the ultimate thing I've struggled to keep inside me is a sense of pride in what I've done and who I've become. I feel it like a spark still trying to become whole, become fire inside, but I can feel that warmth, and I know over the years I can catalyze it as I work to crystallize into the person I yearn to be happy with myself. And I know one day, through moving myself forward, shifting sands and mental blocks out of the way, I'll get there one of these days. I'll get there one of these years. Maybe when 28 becomes 29, I'll have become that light I've always wanted in the world. Thank you for reading. Author bio. Sam Thompson is a multimedia artist, writer, and actor from North Pole, Alaska. Having studied psychology, photography, theater, and film, and combining this with their background in poetry, short fiction, playwriting, and screenwriting, Sam seeks to create unique narrative experiences for an audience, often working to open a commentary on themes of struggling with depression, anxiety, and LGBTQ+ living. Their poems Severance and Guitar were previously published as part of an anthology of emerging poets 2019 by Z Publishing House, and their poem To Hunger from Thirst was shown as a visual poem at film festivals across Alaska, winning for Best Editing at Thaw Film Festival in 2019, being an official selection in the Mammoth Film Fest and Alapa Film Festival in 2020. To Hunger from Thirst, Apocalypse Now and Then, and Bed were additionally included in the Fairbanks Arts online exhibition on resilience in 2020, found at artandresilience.org. Their poetry collections, -50 and On Moving and Moving On, can be found for sale at their online ebook store located at www.etsy.com/shop/Quirk and Quill. Many of their short plays have found a home in staged readings as part of Famous for 15 at their alma mater, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, including One Last Time, Love for a Monster, A Letter in a Locker Room, and To Repair a Broken Toy. Their full-length co-written play, Everything Changes, was performed for new student orientation at UAF in 2015 and 2016, and their short play, The Light of My Life, additionally was performed as part of UAF Student Drama Association's Winter Shorts in 2019. Their plays can be found for sale to read at their Etsy shop, including the Valentine's short play, Live, Laugh, Love, and Death, and the dark fantastical full-length play, Boxes, alongside short fiction stories such as Suits. To inquire about performance rights for their material, email them at contact.quirk.and.quill@gmail.com. Made in the USA in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, July 15th, 2021. Copyright 2021 by Sam Thompson. All rights reserved.